Now for a look at Facebook and its messy start as a public company. We're joined now by Chris Weston from IG Markets in Melbourne to tell us more. Chris, just firstly, take us through what's happened since the IPO. It's been a pretty disastrous start, hasn't it?
Well, I mean, it depends who you are. I mean, if you're one of the Facebook insiders, I think you'd be reasonably pleased. You've got a better level to get out the stock. But I think all the people who've been filled on their IPO, of which the retail component have got a lot more than what they had anticipated. 20–25% of the IPO going that way. A lot of the hedge funds who put their allocation in, they expected to get a very small percentage because it is a very hot IPO. You know, some of them are reporting 8 times what they'd usually get. So I think that's very interesting. But the price action's been, you know, probably reflective of where the value is. I mean, we saw the stock trade up to $45, so that was up 18% in a brief moment, and then just came crashing back down on the first day, traded down to 38 with the IPO price. Obviously, Morgan Stanley and the underwriters stepping in, of which apparently they made about $100 million US dollars from stepping in and supporting. But I think since that time, I mean, we've seen it trade down to $30.94. If we'd seen it drop down to $30.40, we would have seen the stock going into a bear market, which is up pretty good going for a stock that's been trading for 4 days. But it's come back a little bit to around $32, and we're starting to see, you know, a bit of stabilisation in the stock from there.
James, I just wanted to ask you too about this, because some have been heralding this bungled IPO as the peak of this latest tech social media boom.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting commentary. There's been a few pieces this week where people are examining, you know, the hype that's been built up around social media over the last couple of years, you know, and it's really peaked, if you like, at this IPO, and maybe it's bringing back some realism into the market. You know, we've often talked about the hype associated with Twitter and things like that, and sort of Facebook hasn't really sort of escaped all that either.
And Chris, I wanted to ask you, how can Australian investors trade Facebook, and should they at the moment, do you think, when you're looking at the value?
Well, I mean, it depends what kind of person, what kind of trader you are. I mean, if you're a technical trader, then clearly you're staying well clear. There's no price action to talk about. I think you need to have a view on where you see the company going. I mean, the stock's trading on current projections of 46-time current earnings at the moment, which is compared to Google, which some people make the comparison. I think they're very different beasts, but that's trading on 11 times. I mean, if you are an investor who sees good growth coming through the company, and I think the consensus of the market, you are going to see some fantastic growth, both from a revenue and an earnings perspective as well, then, you know, you speak to your your broker who offers international shares. I mean, we personally here at IG Markets offer this as a contract for difference, so you're basically buying the underlying shares, but you just put a percentage down as a margin, which is 5% of the total exposure. So we offer that as an international share, so I think it depends who your broker is and whether they offer international shares there.
Chris, really appreciate your time. Thanks so much for that.
Thanks, Brodie.
Chris Weston there from IG Markets. Just one final question for James, I guess, staying in all of this space. Fairfax Media's come out and launched an Airlink and an app for the Financial Review.
Yeah, the Airlink's an interesting one. It's like there's a lot of commentary about Fairfax focusing on digital, if you like, but this is something that you've got to get the newspaper to sort of activate. It's like a code on the newspaper. You've got to get, it's a little bit complicated, I think, for the reader, but you've got to have your mobile phone, it's got to have downloaded the SMH app, and then you can sort of scan the code on the newspaper, then it will take you straight to some video or a gallery, whatever content a reader offer, whatever it might be. So it's a nice little, it's a bit more than a gimmick, I guess, but it's sort of something nice that for the newspaper readers who've been loyal to the paper there, and it sort of links them into the digital offerings. Yeah, and the iPad app, yeah, first up for the Financial Review, was a bit of a pioneer in that digital space, if you like, but they've sort of haven't really had an iPad offering, but that's up now, and it's pretty good. It's been developed by the same people that did the SMH and the Age app, so yeah, it's very early days, but it looks pretty good.
Thanks for that, James. Stay with us. Coming up on Media Week, what a merged Foxtel and Ozstar will mean for the media landscape.